The following is a presentation of TBS Sports.
The storyline of Day 10 of the Goodwill Games was abundantly clear. It was the day American women strutted their stuff. Now, day 11, and time to turn potential into performance again. This building once housed a Singer sewing machine company before the Bolshevik Revolution. The Union used to have a stranglehold on gymnastics. For the past 3 nights, we saw the Russian women continue some of that mastery. And tonight, we'll watch the men swing into action. Russia's powerful, but so are other teams. So let's go now to Bart Conner with Kathy Johnson for the specifics.
Welcome to the Lenin Sport and Concert Complex here in St. Petersburg for the first of 4 days of competition in men's gymnastics at the Goodwill Games. Hi everyone, I'm Bart Conner. We're getting ready for the men's team competition featuring 7 of the best teams in the world. Now, in the previous 2 Goodwill Games, the athletes from the former Soviet Union won or tied for all 16 gold medals, totally dominating. Joining me is Kathy Johnson. And Kathy, looking into this competition today, you have to figure that the team from Russia and Belarus, they are our favorites.
They're definitely carrying on the tradition of the former Soviet Union in terms of their strength and consistency. Russia probably has an advantage because they're competing at home, and also because they have Alexei Voropayev, who was second all around at the World Championships this year.
Now let's talk about the chances for the American team. They're pretty strong here.
They're led by Scott Keswick and Cheney Humphrey, both former UCLA gymnasts. Cheney Humphrey was a finalist in the high bar at the World Championships this year, and Scott Keswick has the highest finish for an American at the World Championships in the last 15 years.
And that was 9th place at the 93 Championship, so it was a good job for Scott Keswick there. Once again, the 7 teams will be competing in 2 separate groups. There are 4 gymnasts on each team, and the top 3 scores on each event will count towards the team total. They will be competing in the floor exercise, the pommel horse, the rings, vault, parallel bars, and horizontal bar. First up for the United States, Drew Durbin, the 20-year-old. Born in Vietnam, now living in Ohio, goes to Ohio State University, where he is coached by Peter Corman, Olympic bronze medalist in 1976. Coached for several years by Dennis McIntyre in Columbus, and then stayed in town to go to Ohio State. This is a very weak event for him. He's wonderful on the high bar and on the pommel horse, but this is not his best. Pretty good swing combinations there.
His weakest section really is the strength on this event.
It's a smartly constructed routine because he is rather weak, but he put together some good moves and some great swing elements and just enough strength. You can tell he's into it.
And
Good
what's
start.
more important than sticking your landing? Final thing the judges see. And he just puts it right in there.
Igor Pavlovsky now, 18-year-old from Belarus, one of the favorite teams here. Belarus producing so many champions, including Vitaly Sherba, the Olympic and world champion.
Very strong vault in terms of the distance from the horse. Of course, you could see the large step he took. Now, keep in mind, in men's gymnastics, they only perform one vault. This was a Kazamatsu in laid out position. It was a nice position in the air, and as I said, good distance.
One of the other top teams here, Russia. This is Dmitry Vasilenko, part of the European Championship team this year for Russia and second on the floor exercise. He's just 18 years old.
Immediately you can see beautiful form, toe point. Nothing extraordinary in the routine, but a nice solid start for the team competition. Notice how he maintains form until right at the last minute. He kind of tucks his legs just a tiny bit.
The score back over on the still rings for the United States, Drew Durbin at 9.05. Next up for the United States, this is Blaine Wilson. This is one of his best events. He's very strong, goes to Ohio State University. He's 19, but he will turn 20 tomorrow.
And this is the biggest competition he's been in internationally.
This is his favorite event. Watch the power here.
Beautiful Maltese. Swings right to an inverted cross. A little shaky there. Not quite as solid as he should be.
The score back over on the parallel bars for Vasilenko, Russia, 9.45.
Very solid on the swing to handstands. Good dismount. Ooh, just a step on that landing. Full twisting, double back.
American team off to a good start. Now, this is Andrei Khan from Belarus, member of the European Championship team. He's 22 years old. Boy, he landed a mile from that horse.
I was going to say that's very far out in terms of distance. He could have used a little more height, but the judges are really looking for that distance in order to give bonus points and get the score up higher.
Now, this is one of the favorites here, not only because he's with a terrific team, but he was second in the World Championships in the all-around just this year in Australia, Alexei Voropayev. He's 20 years old, very powerful. Some gymnasts have an aggressive style, and that really characterizes his style of gymnastics. It's not smooth necessarily, but it's very assertive and precise.
Double pike somersault. It's become probably the most common dismount off the parallel bars for the better gymnast.
So the winner of an Olympic gold medal and World Championship medals as well is off to a great start.
The 1994 Goodwill Games are brought to you by 100% Colombian coffee, the richest coffee in the world. By Tums. Tums helps wipe out heartburn and gives you calcium. By Reebok, official athletic footwear and apparel sponsor of the Goodwill Games. And by The Prudential, peace of mind. It comes with every piece of the rock.
Now for the United States, this is Cheney Humphrey. Turns 24 years old today. Happy birthday to Cheney Humphrey. Quick update on the scores. Blaine Wilson from the United States on the rings had a 9.4. Andrei Khan on his vault, a 9.35 for Belarus. Alexei Voropayev on the parallel bars, a 9-6. So they're off to a strong start over there for the Russian team.
And it probably goes without saying, but Cheney is extremely strong. You take a look at his upper body.
Planning on going to medical school when he finishes his gymnastics competition, hopes to compete through the '96 Olympics. A graduate of UCLA. There's a good combination, but he didn't hold the second strength move long enough. The judges like to see the gymnast do a swing element and then freeze it in a strength move to earn bonus points. Cheney did not exactly freeze that element. Will not earn the bonus there.
Oh, too bad. And step on the landing. It was a good routine, just not a great one.
His swing elements were quite good. Very high.
But didn't quite get the rotation here so he could stick the landing. He needed to pull his feet a little bit more underneath him, so he had to take that big step forward. There will be a couple deductions.
Rudnitsky now from Belarus on the vault.
Performing the round-off entry vault beautifully. We're starting to see that vault more and more in men's gymnastics. Of course, the horse is higher in men's gymnastics, so they really have to get up off the board. He does a layout with a full twist.
Just one vault in the men's competition. The women's, they get 2, and they take the best of the 2 scores. Shabayev now from Russia. Yevgeny Shabayev. Wow, look at the amplitude and the height on these moves.
Just checking a little on that handstand.
4th in the world this year at the World Championships on this event.
When we refer to virtuosity, it's this type of gymnastics we're talking about. Very big elements done with ease. With beautiful form, just like on that double pike and a perfect landing.
Just like we saw from the Russian women. They're so focused, it looks like the Russian men are here to win. Nailing the landings, excellent execution. The score, by the way, for Cheney-Humphrey over on the rings for the United States, a very good 9.5. So the U.S. team off to a good start. Here's Scott Keswick, known in the United States as the Lord of the Rings. 3-time national champion. He has an exciting routine here with strength and swing elements and a great dismount.
Look how level he is on that iron cross and pulls out of it so easily.
24 years old, recently married to UCLA gymnast Michelle Hunt. Nice position.
Very nice swing right to that invert cross.
There's a good example. A kip right to the L cross earns bonus points. Now watch his control in the handstand. This is one of his trademarks. Right on top of it. Now watch this dismount. 2 flips and 2 twists. Way to go.
Highly difficult and a great landing.
Very impressed with the Americans in the first rotation. Good scores, excellent routines, and great landings.
This is a great start for him because sometimes he's hot and cold in competition, and when he starts off strong, he might just hold it all the way through the competition.
All right, Shane.
I did it.
All right, good ring.
Americans having a good day in this first of 6 rotations in the team competition. This is 18-year-old Alexei Nemov, 3rd in the World Championships on the rings.
Typically, the Russian gymnasts do not have a weak event, which makes them so strong and so tough to beat. Look at the form on the double front.
The score was just posted for Scott Keswick of the United States on the rings, a 9.775. So the U.S. off to a great start there.
Another great routine.
This Russian team is here to win. They're nailing their landings. They look focused and well prepared.
It's just amazing how they keep form throughout every single skill. Beautiful tight pike. Great landing.
Alexei Nemov, his score a 9.75 on that parallel bar routine. So let's look at the team standings to this point. Russia with the lead, 29.00. United States, 28.675 with a strong performance in the rings. Their first event, Belarus third, 27.6. Welcome back to the Lenin Sport and Concert Complex. We're getting ready for the second rotation in the men's team competition here. The Russian team with the 29.00 is in the lead. United States second, Belarus in third, and this young man is from Belarus. This is Vitaly Rudnitsky. He'll be on the parallel bars. He's 19 years old. Was a member of the championship team of Belarus at the European Championships this year. It's an interesting combination. Right on the end of the parallel bars, Thomas flares up to a handstand, pirouette, and then he works his way back into the middle. He's hitting all the right positions and a good landing.
Bart, as you said, this is much more risky doing it on the end of the parallel bars, facing out. Very nice start for a strong routine.
That really was the best part of the exercise. The rest of it was rather stock. Dmitry Vasilenko now from Russia on the high bar, and this is one of their great events. They are going to fly these release moves.
And here's the first one. Oh, too bad.
I thought he had it. It's right
really
there on
did.
the end of his fingertips.
It's such an unusual release move, requires a very specific technique.
He's lucky he didn't hurt himself here. This is a reverse hecht front.
And he held on long enough
Right.
to send him flying backwards.
That's just the kind of landing where you dislocate an elbow when you're reaching down and grabbing the floor with your hands. He just was there. Oh, you can see his right hand didn't make it. His left hand was on. He loses half a point, has 30 seconds in which to remount, which he did, and then he continues his exercise.
Keep in mind, 4 gymnasts compete. Top 3 scores count. So they can drop this score if the other 3 gymnasts perform with a higher score. Triple back. That's too bad. That would have been a great routine for them to start off with.
Triple was outstanding, wasn't it?
Very well done. He takes it up and just in the right position to come up with a good landing.
Up now for the United States, this is Drew Durbin on the vault. Typically one of the more difficult events for the United States.
Oh, he worked to get his feet down, rather low landing. This really is the weakest event for the United States as a team, and it historically has been. Notice he finishes the twist and the rotation below the level of the horse. You really want to see it up above.
Over to the parallel bars now. Ivan Pavlovsky. Belarus currently in third of the second group of teams competing here in the team competition.
The second result, the team of USA.
He's 18 years old.
The third result, the team of Romania.
Belarus is the country that gave us Vitaly Sherba and also Ivan Ivankov, the current world champion.
Trouble there. Oh, and he tucked the double back, but not in a nice tucked position. A little sloppy on that. And he had trouble in the middle of the routine, keeping control. You'll see where he gets into trouble. Right here, he underbalances, then overcompensates and overbalances and takes a step.
Let's get you caught up on the scores now. Rudnitsky from Belarus on the parallel bars had a 9.15. Vasilenko an 8.55. Drew Durbin on that vault had a 9.05. And this is Alexei Voropayev. Here's the double over. Oh, no.
Huge release move. Unfortunately, just a couple of inches too far from the bar. This you did not expect from this team.
The technique was wonderful. Form was good. He looked like he knew right where he was. He misjudged it maybe by how much? We're going to see right here.
An inch and a half, maybe 2. Let's see.
Oh, probably about an inch and a half. That's too bad. He loses a half a point. Vasilenko had a fall in the first performance for the Russians here. His score only an 8.55, so that's the second fall for our leaders, the Russian team. He's going to do it again.
He needed the element. He needed that combination to get the bonus points.
And again.
If anybody had any doubt that he could do the skill, they don't now.
Maybe he should do it one more time. That's amazing.
What's amazing, Bart, is this is the only team that could sustain counting a low score and still pull out a win. Phenomenal routine, and he is not happy with himself.
You know, but that was the best reaction from the crowd all day. They loved his daring to go back up and do this in combination with the full over after, and then do it again.
I think anyone admires a competitive spirit and one who is willing to put it out there, and this athlete is. It's just beautiful technique.
Now joining in progress, this is Grigory Misyutin, world champion in '91, winner of 4 silver medals at the Olympics in '92, behind the great Vitaly Sherba. One of the best tumblers in the world.
One of the most beautiful tumblers, too. It's not just the power that you admire, but the technique, and it's beautiful in the air. And a double layout as the finish.
Quick update on the scores. Pavlovsky had a 9.0 for Belarus on the parallel bars. Even after that fall on the high bar, Voropayev has a 9.35, a rather high score, but as you mentioned, he did a ton of difficulty, earning bonus points from the judges. Now to Cheney Humphrey on the vault.
Laid out Kazumatsu, trouble on the landing. His ankle even kind of gave way. I was afraid at first he might roll the ankle. But
he has suffered some problems with an ankle a couple of years ago. He had a bad sprain, and then it turned out to be broken. That kept him out of the '92 Olympics. Can you believe it was 10 years ago this summer that the U.S. men's gymnastics team celebrated its greatest moment? An Olympic gold medal in the team competition. Being a member of that rather remarkable team, to us it was simply a day we'll never forget. Andrei Khan now on the parallel bars for Belarus. This is one of his best events. 22 years old. He's married. Is coaching gymnastics in his spare time. How about that? Double twist.
I love to see it. He's begun to get a little tired, even though the pike double back are beautiful off the parallel bars. It's nice to see something different.
He was the first to do this a couple of years ago, and we were all surprised because it's so hard to crank 2 twists off of the parallel bars, and he does it easily. Andre Khan. On the high bar now, Yevgeny Shabayev. So far, the Russians have had 2 falls here, Vasilenko and Voropayev. They need a good performance here in the team competition. Remember, they count the best 3 of 4 scores. They've already had a mistake. Well, he went conservative on that, hoping, of course, that he wouldn't give up another major error for the Russian team.
I think you get a little conservative when you see 2 of your teammates miss the same skill.
Oh, what a great dismount.
Beautiful dismount.
What I like about this dismount is it's a double twist in the second somersault. The first is a layout, and it's a double full out in the laid out position. That's great, and a good landing. Now back over to the vault. The United States, this is Scott Keswick. As we mentioned at the top of the show, placed 9th in the World Championships in '93. Was 13th this year down in Australia at the World Championships in the all-around. You never know what he's going to do here. He's a very powerful vaulter, but until he goes, you don't know what he's going to go for. Hey, nice job.
Very nice job. He dug into his grab bag and came up with a good one.
He really did. Now, this is a good vault because it comes from a 9.8 value, which is the highest value you can get in men's vaulting. The only way it gets to a 10 is if you have extra distance from the horse, and the landing was good.
Very good. You notice he had good push off the horse.
On the parallel bars now, Alexander Shostak.
Is beautiful. I saw it in the warm-ups. Double pike, front somersault.
20 years old, from Minsk, the hometown of Olga Korbut and Svetlana Boginskaya.
Very nice.
8.9 was the score on the vault for Cheney Umphrey.
He had a beautiful position in his mount, that straddle planche, and then takes it right into this pike double front. Very well done.
Andre Khan from Belarus on the parallel bars had a 9.5. And Yevgeny Shabayev a 9.2, the first hit routine for the Russians on the high bar. This is Namoff.
That's the way that
my
was supposed to be done.
And a combination with the second release move, that was big. He's not done yet.
Here's his third release move.
He's just 18 years old, very tall. At 5'8", he's a giant for a gymnast.
And it looks great on the high bar. Oh, beautiful dismount. Notice how he almost stalled before he started the double twist.
Just a gorgeous routine. Look at how he catches this and then cranks a backflip with a half twist. Look, he's a mile up there. He must be 15 feet in the air. The bar is 8 feet off the ground. Scott Keswick for the United States had a 9.4. Terrific score for the U.S. on the vault. It's very difficult to get a high score there. Here is Blaine Wilson.
Beautiful vault. He is so powerful and dynamic on this event. He got a little bit more distance even than we saw from Scott Keswick.
Same style of vaulting. Very impressed. It's exciting to see the Americans have a good day on the vault. Normally, this is their downfall in major meets like this.
This is when you are so thankful you have strong legs. His body was behind his feet, and he really had to pull to stand up.
Good job for Blaine Wilson. Quick update on the scores. Shostak had a 9.625 on the parallel bars. Alexander Namoff a 9.6 on that high bar routine. Blaine Wilson from the U.S. a 9.2 on that vault. So after the second rotation, Russia holds on to the lead, 57-05. The United States is second, and Belarus in third.
Well, gymnastics is running wall-to-wall this week. Tonight, the stage belongs to the men, where the accent is on power and strength, Fred, and artistry. Let's go back for more of the team competition with Bart Connor and Kathy Johnson.
This is Bart Connor and Kathy Johnson welcoming you back to the Lenin Sport and Concert Complex. The men's team competition. This is Alexei Voropayev.
Oh, is that beautiful?
Russia in the lead, United States second, Belarus third at this point.
Excellent. 2 front layouts to a 1.5 twisting front layout.
Voropayev had a great start on the parallel bars and then fell off the high bar. He's expected to be one of our leaders in the all-around competition. Today is just the team awards, but the top 16 from today's session will compete in tomorrow's all-around session. No more than 3 from any one country. And the top 8 on any individual event, no more than any 2 from any country, will compete in the individual apparatus finals. A lot of gymnastics still to come here at the Goodwill Games. Wow. What power.
Full twisting double back at the end. He's not happy about stepping forward on that landing. You can tell he really wants to be perfect.
This 20-year-old was second in the all-around at the World Championships. Won a world title on the parallel bars in 1992. He's a great all-around gymnast. This is Grigory Misyutin on the pommel horse. Former world all-around champion.
And wouldn't everyone like to be this comfortable on the pommel horse? So smooth.
He's won 3 golds at World Championship competition. Unfortunately, has been somewhat in the shadow of maybe the greatest gymnast of all time, Vitaly Sherba.
Very nice routine.
Well, the 23-year-old will be happy with that. He's getting up there in the years for a gymnast, isn't he? Looks pretty fit. Now for the United States. This is Blaine Wilson out of Ohio State. He'll turn 20 years old tomorrow.
I like one of his hobbies, cutting hair.
Wonder if he did his own job there. What do you think? Whoa.
Oh, too bad.
He went for a big move there. Just got caught short.
And the one thing the judges are going to see throughout the whole routine, his toes aren't totally pointed. He's really got to work on that. But really going for good difficulty, nice combinations of difficulty.
As a whole, this is a tough event for the United States. This is that move. He traveled a little bit too far and didn't get the reverse rotation back for the straddle cut to catch without having to have his legs hit the bar. The dismount was good. Most gymnasts you'll see will be doing that in the pike position for more difficulty. It won't score very well because of that break in the beginning and a little sloppy form, as you mentioned.
First one fight, too.
Pavlovsky now from Belarus.
Really doing some unique transitional type moves, not the big release moves. So nice work. Great landing. Not the difficulty that we've seen in terms of the spectacular release moves.
That's about as hard as you can land, isn't it?
But intricate work, especially with the hands. A lot of full turns and into Stalder work.
Pavlovsky. Now let's get you up to date on the scores. A 9.575 on the floor for Voropayev. Miss Houghton had exactly the same score on the pommel horse. And as expected, for Blaine Wilson of the United States on the parallel bars, a low 8.9. Evgeny Shabayev, 21-year-old from Moscow. It's a very strong Russian team here.
Even on the power elements, Bart, they're so elegant. I'm sure you've recognized that front tumbling has been upgraded. So many of the gymnasts are performing a lot of front tumbling in their routines to get those bonus points.
I love this in his bio. He says he likes dancing, driving, and walking with his girlfriends.
Oh.
Plural. Way to go, Yevgeny. Last tumbling run.
Oh, he almost stuck it.
These young men are ready for this competition, aren't they, though?
Watch
really
this.
seem focused, and they're going for the stuck landings.
Here's that front tumbling I was talking about. It's 3 layouts in a row. When they combine laid out front tumbling together, they get the bonus points.
Now on the parallel bars for the United States, this is Drew Durbin.
And this is his best event.
He's excellent as well on the pommel horse and the high bar. Good form, huh?
Very nice control in the handstand.
The score for Pavlovsky on the high bar, a 9.1. And Shabayev on the floor, a 9.35.
Very nice routine and a beautiful landing.
Very impressed with how focused the American team seems at this point.
Absolutely. The U.S. needed this routine right here to be as solid as it was.
For Belarus now, Vitaly Rudnitsky.
The third result, Christian Larrett.
He's the all-around champion of the Junior Europeans, 1990. Look at the speed. Fantastic.
That's up there with one of the highest release moves I've seen.
Beautiful roll to eagle and inverted giants.
Second place, United States of America.
Look at the power he's generating.
Great technique, an unusual dismount. As I said, it's always nice to wake those judges up with something different.
Well, this release move, I know it took your breath away. Have you ever seen one so high?
Perfect technique, perfect distance from the bar.
Maybe only Trent Demas from the United States has done one that high. We'll be back with his score. For the floor now, this is Vasilenko for Russia. The Russian team are leaders in the team competition. .915 was the score on the parallel bars for Drew Durbin from the United States.
Unbelievable.
On the side.
Would you have expected that? I was expecting a front with a full, and he comes up with a double front.
This is certainly a trademark of the Russian teams. You never see a young man representing Russia that isn't an incredible tumbler.
They all share that very excellent technique.
Pull in at the end. It's so easily done.
unbelievable. Technique, perfection, all in such a little space, right down the side of the floor.
The score back over at the high bar for Rudnitsky, Belarus, was a 9-1-5. This is Scott Keswick. Now, he has a couple of unusual moves in this routine. They look a little sloppy and choppy, but they will earn him bonus points. He's going to do a move called a stutz to one bar and then reach back in. You saw it there. He does it again. Those are the best I've seen him do.
Double front, right to a Maltese.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
That is unbelievable.
I can't believe that just happened.
He just performed several of the skills better than I've ever seen him do in this routine.
I hate to say it, but we've seen this before from Scott Keswick. You mentioned at the top, sometimes hot, sometimes cold. You think it's a lapse in concentration?
It's hard to say what it is. Sometimes if you worry too much and care too much, I know that's going to sound strange, but you start thinking too hard instead of just letting your body do what it does so well.
After he made all of those difficult moves, this is a simple A move, the easiest of the moves in his routine. It's a reverse pirouette.
Sometimes I think you can get excited. There's no way he wasn't excited at that one point, doing so well.
Andrei Khan now for Belarus on the high bar. The score over on the floor for Vasilenko, a 9.6.
Beautiful reverse hack. Straight body. He's going to do it again. Oh, I thought that was a little too far out. You can't tell for certain from where we're looking, but
I think to a lot of people who are watching at home, it looks like these athletes get hurt on these. Granted, they're dropping from about 14, 15 feet, but most of the gymnasts realize that if they spread their body out, they can dissipate that fall, and many times it won't hurt as much as it looks like it should.
Unfortunately, he didn't lay out like you were supposed to, and I think he might have hit his nose. Certainly, he's probably fine, but just doesn't feel good. Oh, what a shame. It's so nice to see the top gymnasts perform gymnastics. They add that extra something, a little bit of flair on every move.
Back over to the floor now, Alexei Nemov. Russians doing very well here on the floor. Just amazing, one after another, with the best tumbling we've ever seen.
You can tell they have the technique down because every single gymnast performs with almost identical technique. Oftentimes we see in the same country gymnasts performing the same skills but performing them differently. You can tell when they have mastered something, they teach it to every athlete that comes up.
You think it's an unfair advantage? They are the home country. They are competing on a pink floor exercise mat. Do you think that's unfair to the other athletes who may not have had to stare at a pink mat before? Hard to say, huh?
You're really hard on this pink mat, and I kind of like it, but here's that final tumbling run. Beautiful double pike with ease and elegance.
You know, some gymnasts do a layout double, some do a full twisting double, but that wasn't the most difficult move. But why is it just so beautiful?
Because his toes are pointed, he has perfect lift, and he's in the exact position you should be in.
Let's get up to date now on the scores. An 8.95, the score for Scott Keswick on the parallel bars after that fall. Andrei Khan, his score on the high bar, an 8.65 after his fall. This is Cheney Humphrey on the parallel bars now for the United States. Cheney has just a brutal routine. I feel sorry for the parallel bars after he gets off. He's so strong, he's so big, and watch, he's just going to rip through this routine with some pretty exciting moves.
This is the calm before the storm. Is he just...
Look at those guns. That's some serious biceps. Double back. Not bad. And again. If Cheney lacks anything on this event, it's the body line and the rhythm that you'll see from some of the great Russians. But he certainly... Oh, no. I was just going to say, he certainly had the difficulty in that exercise.
Absolutely. Plenty of difficulty.
It's coming apart for the Americans on the parallel bars after getting through the vault. And beautiful start on the rings. Scott Keswick has a fall, and now Cheney Humphrey. Alexander Shostak now on the high bar for Belarus.
The layout full twist.
We'll be back with more gymnastics here in the team competition shortly. Russia holding on to the lead here after the third rotation in men's team gymnastics here at the Goodwill Games. United States in second and Belarus third. Quick update on the scores. Alexei Nemov had a 9-7 on the floor. Cheney Humphrey a 9-1 on the parallel bars. A 9-2-5 for Alexander Shostak on the high bar. Well, in my opinion, this is a critical event for the United States. Coming off a disastrous performance on the parallel bars, Blaine Wilson will hope to get the ball rolling once again for the U.S., who lost quite a bit of ground to Belarus.
Nice, full over the bar, right into another one.
One thing you have to love about Blaine Wilson's style, he's very assertive. He doesn't back off. He seems very aggressive in all of his movements. That's a beautiful full pirouette to an eagle.
Landing's very important here. Very good landing.
That's the kind of guy you want to lead off for the team. He seems consistent and solid, very aggressive. He's not going to make a mistake, is he?
This routine can get them back on track. And they need to do that. Full twisting double back. And look at that. He just decided, I am not moving my feet.
On the floor now, Ivan Pavlovsky from Belarus.
Nice Arabian double front.
We are seeing some really incredible gymnastics. Technique is great. The acrobatics is wonderful. The style and execution, just perfect. In this competition, we don't have Ivan Ivankov, the current world champion, or Vitaly Sherba, one of the greatest of all times, and yet we are seeing some really wonderful gymnastics.
I think he took a look over his shoulder at the clock just to make sure he wasn't going to be under time. Did you see that? Standing right in the corner, just glanced over.
He's thinking, when is that bell supposed to go off?
I looked over to see if it was his coach he was looking for.
The bell signals after 50 seconds that he has 20 seconds with which
he
to
hadn't heard
complete
it.
his
It worried him.
exercise, and he was
it
waiting.
was at 48 seconds. I looked once he turned around and looked.
Now to the horse, Dmitry Vasilenko from Russia. They're our team leaders. Isn't this something? Look, he has to touch. Oh, no. That was going so beautifully, and he was doing one of the most difficult combinations you can do, a flare without touching the pommels in the center of the horse.
He just caught his leg on the pommel.
You have to love his body line and straight form execution. And look how fast he's going. That's impressive to the judges, that he is in that much control. That's too bad he had to fall, because this was going to be a huge score for Russia.
He's a very young gymnast, 18 years of age.
And he had his hands outside the pommels with the flare. It's a long reach, and he just nicked his leg.
Yeah.
Drew Durbin from the United States on the high bar. This is his best event. And boy, when he's on, he can really fly here.
Gaylord, too. Oh, no.
And a good save.
Yeah.
Very beautiful combination. His form is good, isn't it?
It's beautiful. I love the combination of difficulty and the variety. Double twisting layout, double layout, dismount. All right, you're right, it's his best event. I thought the parallel bars were kind of up for grabs. They're both very good.
His coach, Peter Corman, underneath the bar, spotting him on this Gaylord 2 invented by Mitch Gaylord from the U.S. He was in a little close on that stall there, but kept it going.
That was a beautiful cover.
Big thanks, Oliver. That was very good. You did the right
So the United States getting it back together after a disastrous parallel bar performance. The score over on the pommel horse for Vasilenko, a low 8.7. This is Vitaly Rudnitsky, Belarus.
He pulled that out. Just a little low on that final element. Both teams from Belarus and Russia pay such close attention to the details, the hand movements, the toe point.
Ivan Pavlovsky, a 9-2 on his floor exercise routine. Blaine Wilson, a 9-2 in the high bar.
Just a little bit short. A lot of difficulty in the routine.
Drew Durbin for the United States scored a 9-4 in the high bar, so things looking good for the United States over there. We go now to the pommel horse, Voropayev from Russia.
On the first place.
I think it's done so much for his confidence to win the silver medal at the World Championships. He's attacking competition even much more aggressively.
That's right, he beat the great Vitaly Sherba, who won the bronze at the Worlds.
Oh, no. Oh. Very strange. It was on really a nothing part. Oh, and a little bit off the mat on the landing.
Things coming apart for the Russian team over there. Vasilenko had only an 8.7. See what happens here. You know, the irony of that move is called a Russian Moor. Well, we'll be back with more gymnastics here in the team competition. Coach Steve Nuno and Peggy Liddick, coaches of Shannon Miller and the entire U.S. team, women's team that came here to compete. Scott Keswick from the United States on the high bar. This will be a critical routine for him. We've said before he's hot and cold. He had a disaster on the parallel bars, and he has been a finalist at the Worlds on the high bar. Let's see if he can get it together.
This is the crucial point. Right there.
Nice.
And he's right on. He has a risky dismount planned. And
oh, no.
That's a tough fall. I think he's okay. But but he was so high and far away from the bar, he had to do that half turn and come down on his back.
He knew right when he swung through the bottom that he was pitching that too far forward and out. Now, this has happened to Scott Keswick before.
I really thought he was through the risky part. Normally, when he gets that first release move, he's on.
You continue the routine from where you fell off after a 30-second break. He does a triple for a dismount. That's too bad for Scott Keswick. He had a great ring routine, an excellent vault, and now a disastrous parallel bars and high bar. On the floor now for Belarus, this is Andrei Khan. Beautiful opening tumbling run.
The best results of the team, Russia.
Interesting combination of dance-like skills. You don't see it quite as often in men's gymnastics.
Score on the floor for Rudnitsky was a 9.35. The disappointment for Voropayev on the horse, an 8.85.
The third result of the team of USA.
Triple twist. Very nice dismount. Little trouble on the landing. But it's nice to see difficulty like that performed at the end of the routine.
Now on the horse, Alexei Nemov. Russia needs a strong performance here. They've been sloppy on the pommel horse. Keep in mind, one of the things that judges are looking for, combinations where he travels across the horse, not using the pommels, as he's showing there. Very much difficulty in that sequence. He hasn't touched the pommels until he climbed up just there. Good form. Starting to get tired. Oh, no. You could tell his arms were getting a little heavy in the last part of the routine. That's a shame.
Bart, the routines have gotten so much longer because of the new code of points.
Exactly.
They're requiring such a high level of difficulty in order to get it all in. It's extended the length of the routine. It's tough.
Such beautiful form and execution, and you just ran out of gas at the end. Andrei Khan on the floor had a 9.35 for Belarus. Now to Cheney Humphrey on the high bar. He was a finalist this year at the World Championships, just missing the medals, placing 4th.
And he was immensely popular in Australia. Sure, a lot of them wanted to see him win the bronze medal.
Popular with the young ladies, by the way, wasn't he? In the paper, commenting on his physique. After that mistake by Scott Keswick, this is a very important routine for the United States here.
He has some of the highest release moves ever.
He
Look
does
at that.
4 in a row if he's on. There's 3 and 4. Can you believe that? Hard to believe you can muscle a release move, but I think he just did. You hear that leather squeaking on the high bar. Way to go for Cheney Humphrey. A very important routine for the United States in this team competition. I'll show you what I mean by muscling a release move. These were well done, right out at the end of his fingertips. Watch how he catches the 4th release move in this sequence. He pulls it in very close, and yet he just cranks it with those biceps and triceps, pushes it away, and keeps the movement going. That was great. And the score for Cheney Humphrey on the high bar, a 9.35. So let's take a look at our team standings. Russia holding on to the lead. United States in second, just slightly, 0.2 of a point ahead of Belarus. Let's go back to the studio and Fred Hickman and Nick Charles. And welcome back to the Lennon Sport and Concert Complex. Bart Connor and Kathy Johnson here. We're in the men's gymnastics team competition. This is the 5th of 6 events. Drew Durbin from the United States getting ready to perform on the floor exercise. The Russians are leading in the team competition. The United States is second, just 0.2 of a point ahead of Belarus. Today's competition will determine the medals in the team event. It will also determine who qualifies to the individual all-around competition, which is tomorrow, and then who qualifies to the individual apparatus competition, which will be the day after tomorrow and the day after that. 4 days of men's gymnastics here at the Goodwill Games. Now we're ready for Drew Durbin. This is an event where Drew has had some problems. He's not a very powerful tumbler. Let's see what he comes up with today. Good mount.
It's a well-designed routine for him. These are good tumbling passes. Not the most difficult in the competition, but he performs them very well.
It's kind of nice, originality in a handstand. The judges don't actually award you any bonus points for originality anymore. They used to do it in the old rules. But I think the judges appreciate a gymnast who does something a little bit different, a variation, something unique. It comes out in general impression. Well,
he's using the code of points. You find where you can get your bonus points.
And there's the American women. They won 6 medals here. Shannon Miller in the middle there, and on her left, your right, is little Jenny Thompson. Shannon won 5 medals, 2 gold, and 3 silvers in the Goodwill Games, and Mariana Webster, a bronze for the United States. Now to the pommel horse, Belarus. This is Ivan Pavlovsky. Belarus 0.2 of a point behind the Americans at this point.
Certainly more muscle in this routine than finesse. You see finesse from the Russians and from the Chinese.
Another smart routine, though, in terms of taking advantage of the code of points. He was a little short in that handstand at the end of that exercise, but he put all the routines in there that the code of points says you will get bonus points for sure for. Okay, now over to the rings. Alexei Nemov, the leading Russian team here. They did not do well in the pommel horse in the last rotation, but they're still holding on to a pretty significant lead here in the team competition. They're just that much better than everybody else who's here.
Bart, he is very tall for a gymnast, 5'8".
And 154 pounds. But boy, can he swing. Look at that. 2 doubles in a row, right to a solid handstand.
He had tremendous control, especially considering his height.
Those are great. Double back within the rings.
And then right up to handstand with such control.
Perfect position. The score for Drew Durbin on the floor was a 9.1. A pretty good score for Drew Durbin. That's not a good event for him. 8.8 the score for Pavlovsky on the pommel horse. And this should be great. No matter what Grigory Misyutin does, he's one of the best vaulters in the world. I don't know what he's going to go for today, do you?
Double front, triple front if you count the take off the board, but it's a handspring. Double front, way up in the air.
That's the best thing we've seen all day. The most difficult vault in the world, and he kicks out. He makes it easily.
Absolutely unbelievable that you can perform a vault that difficult that well.
Watch
and
the
still
power
keep your toes
and
pointed.
explosion off the horse. He's gone. That's amazing. What combination of power and technique? Cheney Humphrey getting ready to perform on the floor for the United States.
And the U.S. team really needs to drop that score. They already have a 9.1 they have to count.
From Drew Durbin.
They need big scores on their final two competitors. And that's a good start.
Cheney Humphrey and Scott Keswick can do it. Russian still in the lead. Once again, the score for Nemov on the rings was a 9.35. And the last tumbling run for Cheney.
High double back. He actually looked like he stumbled just a tiny little bit going into the round-off.
It's nice to have that kind of reserve power, isn't it? Now for Belarus, this will be Andrei Khan on the pommel horse. Look at that body line. That's about as straight as you can get on the pommel horse.
The United States could be in trouble in this rotation because Belarus is doing so well here on the pommel horse.
Absolutely. Look at the difficulty, the execution. Oh, he just earned a bucket of bonus points on that combination. Oh, nice dismount through the handstand, hop to the end. Look at the body line, and notice how long he stays on one pommel before he transfers over. That's where you get the bonus points from the judges. It's so difficult to stay over one pommel and continue to swing. Then he hops to the end and catches it in a handstand with a pirouette. That was great. Alexei Voropayev now in the rings. Fell off the pommel horse. See if he can get it together here. Back uprise to a Maltese cross, L cross, press to an L, and a press to a handstand. Good strength work right at the beginning.
Look how still the rings are.
There's the inverted iron cross and a press back the handstand. Now most gymnasts select to do their strength moves early in the routine when they're fresh and they have the strength. Then they can swing.
Perfect control. Beautiful landing.
The score back over on the pommel horse for Andrei Khan. Belarus was a 9-3.
Watch this. It's just the perfect technique they use throughout that they can come up with landings like that.
The score for Cheney Humphrey, a very low 8.8 on that floor exercise routine. Not good for the United States, while Voropayev's score on the rings for Russia was a 9.8. This is Scott Keswick. He had trouble on the parallel bars, trouble on the high bar. You think he can get it together here?
His teammates can only hope so. They really need a big score here. They're certainly going to drop below Belarus after this rotation.
Oh.
And we should make the point that no one expected them to beat Belarus all along.
That's true. The United States came out so strong in the first two events, the rings and the vault. Coming into this meet, we didn't expect them to be contenders for a team medal, but they looked so good so early, our expectations went up.
That's a very nice side pass.
It's tough, isn't it? He's covered the floor area. That was the balance on one foot that he needs for the judges.
This landing is important. You gotta stick it. He was so sluggish coming off the floor. I didn't think he was gonna make it around.
Really shorter rotation.
I'm sure he was a little worried too. He was just so slow lifting up into it. Right here, he barely got his legs up and he had to pull him out to the side in that cowboy position to get it around.
On the pommel horse now, Alexander Shostak. U.S. and Belarus in a tight battle here. It appears Belarus can go ahead of the United States on this performance here. We do not know Scott Keswick's score yet. But if Scott Keswick were to score more than 35 hundredths of a point over that routine Shostak, then the Americans would stay in second place, but I don't think it's going to happen. And the score for Scott Keswick, a 9.2 on the floor. Now, Andre Kahn's score has been changed from a 9.3 to a 9.55 after some discussion with the judges. And Alexander Shostak's score, a 9.7, which means in the team competition, Russia's still the leader. But this time, Belarus moves into second, and United States drops to third. For Belarus now, on the rings, Vitaly Rudnitsky. The Russian team in the lead, about 4 points ahead.
Wow. Nice swing elements, right to string. It's got a little bit of swing in the rings. Double front with a half twist in pike position. Great to see something different. You usually see the back somersaulting dismounts, so it's a nice change. The double front in pike position with a half twist and a good landing.
Now up on the vault, Yevgeny Shabayev with the team leaders from the Russian team. Wow.
Boy, they
Off the ceiling.
They have some great vaults. All the more difficult vaults they're performing.
This is amazing.
Kazumatsu with a full twist. It's actually 2 twists in the air. And look at the landing.
On the parallel bars now, Grigory Misyutin competing here as an individual. He was invited to compete. Based on his performance today, he will make the all-around competition, which will be held tomorrow, and several of the individual events. Boy, look at him fly that giant swing. Incredible. All of the moves, just nailing the handstand.
There's a term we use in gymnastics, amplitude. And he has got it. Bigness of the skill.
Double pike. Oh, my goodness. He knows he nailed that one. His 6th and final event here today. Back to the pommel horse now. Cheney Humphrey now ready to go. For Cheney, this is a very difficult event for him as well. He has some difficulty in the routine. but it tends to be a little choppy and a little rushed.
They need strong performances here. They want to stay ahead of Romania, who competed in the earlier round, in order to secure that bronze medal.
Third place, the team of USA, 138.775.
He is so strong. He really uses his muscle on this event. Good, solid routine. Little bent arms there on the dismount.
Yeah, on that. Now for Belarus on the rings, Andrei Khan. Having a pretty good day, actually. Let's get back up to speed on the scores here. Vitaly Rudnitsky from Belarus had a 9.5 in his ring performance. Shabayev, a 9.6 on that vault. Nice tight arch position in that Maltese cross. And an uprise to an L cross. He's not really very strong. You can see he doesn't have the same kind of musculature that Cheney Humphrey does. So he's more of a swinging ring man rather than a muscle man. Good dismount.
Many of the gymnasts now are performing their dismounts without that added swing to handstand. They go right from the final element of the routine and right into the dismount.
The score over on the pommel horse for Cheney Humphrey, an 8.8. So some difficulties there for the United States team. This is Voropayev now in his 6th and final event, the vault. Watch him fly this thing. Oh.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that something? Look how he gets launched off this horse. What a push.
And because he's so powerful, it's difficult to stick the landing. He almost bounced off the ground. And he's checking over to the side to see where he landed in relation to those marks that the judges have down, hoping to get some bonus points.
Scott Keswick for the United States on the pommel horse. This is his final performance. Had 2 good routines, 3 shaky routines. This will be his 6th and final one. Oh, no. Once again, a concentration error. I just don't know what happens to this young man. He gets in a competition like this. It seems like so many times he's come in the preliminary rounds, he has blown his routines, and then he gets fired up and does well in the all-around and usually places in the top 10 in the world. It's almost like he has a psychological crutch. I need to make a mistake early to get myself mad enough to perform better in the later rounds. We'll have to see what he'll do in the all-around in the individual events here, because I bet he'll be right on. Alexander Shostak on the rings. The last performer for Belarus here. Just about a point separates Belarus and the United States in 2nd and 3rd place. You see in the background there the score 9.65. That's for Voropayev's vault. Andrei Khan had a 9.45 on
That's
rings.
the position you want to see on that skill. Right level with the rings. Just a double layout dismount, but what an exclamation mark at the end. Just nails it right into the ground. Here it is, right here. Boom.
He landed so hard his pants almost fell down. You see that? A lot of pressure coming in there. They slid about 2 inches down his hips. Alexei Nemov, this is the final competitor for Russia in the vault.
Oh, and what a shame.
Boy, that was going to be great, wasn't it?
It was a great vault. He was trying a unique vault for men's gymnastics. The round-off entry, but with a half twist on, front pike with a half twist. But he didn't get on top of the horse out of the round-off. And when that happens, there's no way to make the correction.
And now the final competitor for the United States, Drew Durbin. The score for Scott Keswick, an 8.8.
This is a very good event for Drew.
He really swings well on the pommel horse. Nice form, nice difficulty in the exercise. He's fast. Good finish for the United States here on the last event. Oh, that was odd.
He even thought so. Did you see the look on his face? Like, what in the world? He swings with such ease, good technique.
He's always been good on the pommel horse. For the last few years, even in junior competitions, he was doing more difficulty with better form. This was odd. Everything was fine.
And he just couldn't stand up. He got...
Oh, well.
You can even see
he
his
was
face.
laughing, yeah. So the score on the vault for Alexei Nemov, 9.2, and for the United States is Drew Durbin on the pommel horse at 9.35. So we will be back with our final standings in a minute. So here are your medalists at the men's team competition here at the Goodwill Games. As expected, Russia wins the gold over Belarus, who will take home the silver. And it turned out to be a pretty good day for the United States. They will bring home a bronze. That's it from the men's team competition here in St. Petersburg. Let's go back to the studio and Fred Hickman and Nick Charles.
So that's the story of the first day of men's gymnastics competition, where we saw the Russians uphold a proud tradition, Fred, despite a matching pants violation. Alexei Vorofayov was given a 0.2 deduction because his pants didn't match the rest of the team's. You know, I didn't know this was a black tie affair, Fred.
How many times have you ever seen it happen? I never have.
What's going to be tomorrow? Top hat and cane? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's the top hat day. But the one fashionable statement the U.S. made was putting on the bronze medal tonight. Quite a nice surprise for them. They did very well in the rings and thus were able to just nudge out the Romanian team.
Really getting off to a flying start, but we're not finished by a long shot, are we?
No, we're not. We've got more gymnastics coming up tomorrow for the men. In fact, the men's all-around competition in the 6 disciplines.
But straight ahead on the show tonight.